Anyone starting their own supplement brand is definitely asking themselves, how do I make this sale? How can I sell my supplements and make a profit? While my expertise is FDA compliance, I still believe that it's important for me to study up on the business and sales side of things. Not to be an expert in sales, but to be better at what I currently do and what I offer to my clients. And in my research, I came across this man, Bobby Hewitt. He's got an amazing podcast and it's called Health Supplement Business Mastery, where he teaches people how to sell their supplements direct to consumers. Needless to say, I'm a huge fan. And I have the pleasure to pick his brain a bit and tackle a variety of topics, including what should you consider today as part of your marketing strategy? What are 3 mistakes that brands make when they enter the supplement space? Where do supplement businesses really make their money? Hint, hint, it's not what you think. And where does compliance fall into his world of marketing? Lots to cover, so let's get to it already. Bobby, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of your show as well.
Thank you. Bobby, why don't we just start with just your background? What is it you do and how you got into the business? Why don't we start there?
So I started basically through design and marketing and really got frustrated from people wanting just to make design look pretty and not have it actually perform a function as far as like selling. So I've held design positions, worked for agencies, in-house as a designer. And then I transitioned and worked as head of marketing for a small company. And that's when I really got to start doing A/B testing and everything that I had been learning and reading about for years. Then I went on my own as a freelancer and landed a supplement client and quickly noticed that all those standard A/B tests were completely wrong when it came to supplements. And that supplements are very, very different type of sale. Since then, I've taken on supplement clients for the last 10 years, really because the problem is more interesting to solve. And it's a very nuanced, unique type of sale.
Very cool. No, I think this is fantastic because a lot of those that are watching this channel, their brand spanking new. They either have just recently launched or are thinking about launching. And we all know one of the biggest components that's in their minds is, can I sell this product and how do I do that? And I think a lot of them just rely on this idea of, if I just promote a post on Instagram, that's all it's going to take. And obviously that's not the case. And it's great to have you on, and hopefully we can extract some information from you today. For those starting a brand, what should they consider today as like part of the R&D or like building their brand or their marketing strategy?
Take a deep look at the market. There's certain types of health conditions that are always selling. Like people always have these same problems. People are always going to struggle with joint problems. They're always going to struggle with sleep problems. They're always going to struggle with brain health. Like there's top 5 or 10 categories. Look at what's selling, and there's some tools that can tell you what's selling as far as like what's selling on Amazon. You can also go to like ClickBank or some other affiliate sites like that and just look at the supplement section and see what's the top ranking selling. Like really look at the category of selling, what type of product is selling. And then I'd say take a look at how it's being sold. And how it's being sold is really kind of a complex answer. They can be sold anywhere from on Amazon to Walmart to your own direct-to-consumer website. And I specialize in the direct-to-consumer website side only because I believe you need to own the customer really in order to make this business work. Amazon, you can use it as part of your strategy, but you're never going to build a business on Amazon. So getting back to how it's being sold, I wouldn't look on Amazon to see how it's being sold. I would look more towards those little ancillary places. And also look at how supplements are being sold that are somewhat close to how you're selling it, or maybe the next step above you, right? So maybe if you're just getting started, right, you don't really have any sales, you don't want to look at a $50 million company. You want to look at like a $1 million company, because what you do at 1 million is very different what you would do at 50 million. So a lot of those types of how that's being sold is really through long form sales pages and funnels, upsells, etc. I actually have an information product. It's called Funnel Breakdowns. And I go into a full funnel every month, supplement company. Each month is a different supplement company, a different supplement category, but I cover all the ones that are the top sellers. And I really kind of break down how they're selling it, every single word on their landing page, every single word on their video. I include screenshots. It's like a 40, 50 page document. It also includes all the upsells, all the offers. And I break down like what's working, how they're doing it. That's a really good primer to really understand how it's being sold. It's called Funnel Breakdowns again, and I actually want to offer the code MIGHTY, MIGHTY for your listeners specifically for 20% off. It is a monthly product, so you can cancel anytime, but every month you're going to get a new funnel breakdown.
And I'll definitely put the link in the description down below. And for those of us that are brand new to this idea of funnels or landing pages, how would you explain that to me? That I've never heard of it before. What does that look like? Is there an example that I could draw from?
A funnel is, at its most simplistic form, right, is a sales page followed by upsells behind it, specifically post-purchase upsells, then a email follow-up sequence, which is very different than like what you would find in an e-commerce shopping cart. What I mean by post-purchase upsells is typically when you get to e-commerce store, right, you'll add something to the cart. In the cart, it'll be like, you want to also add these things. That's not an upsell, that's a cross-sell. A post-purchase upsell works a lot differently. A post-purchase upsell happens after they put in their credit card. So put the product in the cart, they fill out everything there, they pay for the product, and then instead of being taken to a thank you page, they're being taken to another sales page. And that sales page is actually holding that credit card token so that they can choose to add another product, buy another product, and they don't have to put it in their credit card. So if they add to the order, it automatically gets charged. No friction with adding another thing. And there's typically more than one upsell. There's typically downsells. Some supplement funnels have like as many as 5 or 6 upsells. Other ones have, just 1 or 2. There's a big chunk of change that is to be made after the sale, which is really kind of the dirty little secret of the supplement business.
Like I've already done the painful action of pulling out my credit card, typing in my credit card number and all of that. And, I don't have to do that anymore. That pop-up window shows up. It's like, hey, you want to add this quick bonus or a feature? And it's like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a component of, I think you mentioned like that less friction to add to that sale. For your breakdown of these funnels, I'm assuming that's like looking at the headlines, how they're capturing someone's attention, the images that they're using.
It goes through everything. It goes through the offer. It goes through not just the headline, but the body copy, the lead copy, because a lot of these supplement funnels are very heavy in copy. It's not the typical e-commerce page, which is also goes back to how it's being sold, understanding how it's being sold, because it does take a lot more to sell a supplement, I think, than a pair of shoes or any other e-commerce product.
What are 3 mistakes that you see startup brands make when they enter the supplement space?
First mistake is really using the standard e-commerce cookie cutter template. They're signing up for Shopify and they're just plugging in the information. Put your benefits here and put your product here. Here's your reviews and you're off to the races. Where the problem with that is that supplements are very different. So people need to understand what's really in them, how to take them. They really need to understand the pain points behind them and how that's solving that. It's really more of a research purchase than any other type of product. I mean, the standard e-commerce page is really good for bottom of the funnel people that already know the company, they know the brand, they know the supplement, and they're just looking to buy. Or they're looking to switch from their sleep supplement to a new sleep supplement because of whatever reason it's not working for them, right? So they're constantly switching and trying something different. The top of the funnel, really, the people that don't know you, the cold traffic that's coming to you, those e-commerce type layouts are horrible for that top of the funnel because it's just not set up to educate them. It's not set up to build trust. It's not set up to really build the problem. I'd say the second mistake is they don't focus on the back end. The supplement businesses are a back-end business. So a lot of times supplements will do like a loss leader on the front end just to get you through those upsells, just to get you to buy more through email after the purchase. So it's really about kind of thinking about it that way. You're not going to build a supplement business and make all of your money on the front end sale. It's really on the back end that you're going to make your money. Say the third area that businesses make mistakes, or supplement business startups make mistakes, is they don't give enough time or enough money to really get off the ground. It's like getting a plane off a runway. If it's not getting up enough speed and it doesn't have a long enough runway, it's never going to fly. That's a tough one because it really comes down to budget.
Go back to the first mistake. You talk about the top of the funnel versus the bottom of the funnel. The bottom of the funnel, I'm interpreting this, are the buyers that understand the product concept already. They're fairly warm. They're ready to buy something else. Top of the funnel, what does that mean? Is that someone that just has no concept of your brand, no concept of what the supplement is for? Like, how would you describe the typical consumer at the top of the funnel?
Yeah, because they're very different consumers at the top and then at the bottom. At the top, they don't know you. They might not even be aware of the solution. They might just be problem aware. They know they're having trouble sleeping. They know they want to lose weight. Right? They know they've got toenail fungus, right? And they want to get rid of it, but they don't know how. They don't know what solutions there are out there for it. So they're looking for not only a product, they're looking for information. They're looking for something that kind of makes logical sense. They're looking for something that can really solve their problem. But the top of the funnel is designed to take someone who doesn't know you and convert them into a sale. Mm-hmm. Whereas the bottom of the funnel, you're already kind of going to Amazon. You're most likely already going to buy within that same day in that same session, right? If you're searching on Amazon looking for like a tinnitus solution, you've probably already done your research and you've already found like a couple of key ingredients that you think work best or you've heard about, or a brand that you've heard about, and you're seeing if you can get it cheaper. Top of the funnel, they're unaware of the problem, they're unaware of the product, and they're really kind of in that research phase more so than that buying phase. They could also be in kind of the phase where they're not even looking for a product. They're on Facebook and there's an ad that piques their interest and they go down this whole rabbit hole of 30,000 word sales page, specifically designed to capture that top of the funnel customer. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the problem though, it's also the offer, because the offer is really important. In fact, it's probably one of the most important things to acquire a customer. The e-commerce cookie cutter page typically has, do you want to buy this product one time or subscription? And that offer is fine for that e-commerce storefront, but it may not be the offer that you build your business on. It may not be the offer that is designed to attract and acquire that first time customer, that top of the funnel customer. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think those that are brand new to the space, they go the traditional route. They model the $50 million brands where essentially they do a post, it takes them to their cart or their store, and they just think, oh, that's how you make the sale. Whereas what I'm getting from you, it's like, no, you have to go take them through this journey of education, kind of bring them in, kind of warming them up to your brand, understanding you through how you talk about the pain points and then your offer. And there's like this, you're kind of building that relationship with them through this journey. Exactly. Versus just assuming they'll just know who you are and add to cart. It doesn't really work that way. You got to warm them up, and it sounds like that's you're taking them through that entire journey through that landing page or through your web page or your funnel, as you mentioned.
Exactly, right? If you think about it kind of like investing, right? Like normal people should not invest like Warren Buffett, because Warren Buffett is operating at a very different level, right? Same thing with any like high level athlete. I'm not a sports guy, but like you can't train like, I don't know, Kobe Bryant or somebody like that, right? Because you're just not that same physical abilities, nor maybe do you have the time of day of whatever 8-hour workouts he does, right? But there was a point where Kobe Bryant and a point where Warren Buffett didn't invest how they invest and train right now. There's a point where they just got started with that. And that point was very different than what they're doing now.
Really quickly, you talked about the companies making money on the back end, not the front end. When you talk about front end, I just want to make sure that it's clear to the audience. We're talking about that initial purchase, and is that what you mean? And then back end, what would be an example of a back end sale? How do you get the back end sale? Is it just a repeat order? What does that mean in your world?
What I mean by front end is everything they bought on that very first day, that very first purchase. So that includes that initial product of like we brought them in on this sleep product, and then we took them through upsells. So that includes all the upsells that they bought as the front end. And then the back end is really everything they bought after that purchase, right? So that's what we're going to be promoting them via emails. Emails can take them through other funnels, right? Emails can take them through other products that solve other problems and also have upsells. Emails can take them through re-upping a subscription, continuing that subscription. Subscription is also the back end. Their second month, third month, fourth month is considered the back end. And the back end is really where the money is really made.
But what would you say in your experience, what separates supplements that sell versus those that don't? Any patterns or themes that you're seeing between the successful ones versus the mediocre ones?
Because there's not like one smoking gun. It's a lot of different things. It could be the advertising budget. It could be how it's being sold, right? Like we talked about those 3 big mistakes. Could be that the product is just not a really high problem product. If you're selling vitamin C, probably not going to work, right? Because you can just go into supermarket and buy vitamin C. Like if there's nothing special about your product, there's not a unique ingredient, or if you're not sort of marketing that unique ingredient in a unique way, then that's another area that could separate you as well. It reminds me of a very famous story from a very famous copywriter for Schlitz beer. It's an old brand that's not around anymore, but when he was going through to write an advertisement for this beer company, he went to the factory and he took a tour in their factory, and they showed him how they make it, and they're like, this is how we do it. And he's like, what is that machine over there? It's like, oh, that's the water purifier machine. It purifies the water, and then we use the purified water to make the beer. And he's like, well, wait a minute. Like, nobody's talking about that. It's like, yeah, but everybody does it. It's part of the manufacturing process of all of beer. So he wrote an ad around how pure the water was, and it worked because nobody else was talking about it. Everybody was doing it, but nobody was talking about it. It could even be choosing a supplement that you could really feel the effects of in a very short period of time, right? Most supplements you've got to take for a couple of months before you really feel the effect, and then even that you don't feel the effect until you stop taking it. So if it's a supplement like that, you're asking a lot more trust and believability of your audience versus a supplement that you're going to feel maybe not immediately, but you're going to feel within the first several days, let's say, like versus something that you're not going to feel for a month. So that the customer can say, oh, this stuff is kind of working. I feel differently. I feel more energy or whatever it is your supplement is solving. So there's not just one thing. I wish there was. It's a lot more complicated than that.
New startups, what they think that they should be launching with is a better iteration of the existing product. That approach might work for the P&Gs of the world, the Procters and Gambles of the world, where it's like, here's a new and improved formula, right? Or like a low sugar version or a diet version or whatever the case may be. That's easy for them to push out through the distribution network. But I think for a brand that nobody knows, that's just starting out, you can't play that little incremental improvement angle. I feel like you have to do something new, something innovative. And I think to your point, like speaking to something new, perhaps, or to actually have a very different effect or beneficial like feeling of the product. And I think that goes back to this theme of we can't copy the $50 million company in their marketing approach. We have to do something a little bit different that's more consistent with the $1 million, the sub-$1 million brand approach.
Because those companies already have a distribution in place, right? So to do a new and improved something, of course it's going to be a success for them because they already have the buyers lined up.
So you hinted about this earlier about, one of the things of why some brands don't succeed is they just aren't putting enough money into their advertising or through their marketing. So the big question is, how much money should I be budgeting for advertising, for marketing?
That's a tricky question. So the true answer is you should spend as much as your CPA will allow. And your CPA stands for cost per acquisition, or how much does it cost you to acquire a customer in relation to how much you're making off that customer. The difficult part is that you don't have any data when you're first starting out. You don't know what it costs to acquire a customer. And you don't know what that customer is worth. You don't know the lifetime value of that customer. You don't know how much that customer is spending on the upsells for the average order value. It's really hard to like pin it down to a specific number. But if the ideal situation is that if you can acquire a customer is less than or close to the lifetime value of that customer, or the front end value, right, is the front end product plus all the upsells, then that's the right amount. A lot of times supplement companies will have to go in whole on that, which just goes back to the business as a back end business. Even with the upsells and that front end product purchase on that day one, let's call it, they may not be making back all of the money that it cost them to acquire that customer. So let's say it costs $90 to acquire a customer. In that funnel, they're only getting $70 per customer. They're going in the hole. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you have the money to float and the time to float, because you're going to make that up with the back end, which is why it's such important to have a back end, which really this business is a back end business. But if you really wanted a number, if you really had to press me, and I think you should, for a brand new, like just starting out, I'd say you want to do at least $1,000 or $2,000 per month, and I'd give it like 6 months at least. So it's a $10,000 budget. Mm-hmm. And the scary part of that is that you're spending $10,000 and you don't know what you're going to get back. But the truth is that paying that money is really the cost of the data, the cost of the knowledge, the cost of what's your CPA, what's your average order value. You may not know your lifetime value, but you know your short-term lifetime value. So it's like you have to pay the money to get the learnings so that you can pay more money so that you can build the business over time. Again, it comes back to that runway of time and money.
Where does compliance fall into the grand scheme of things for you?
You don't want to make claims that are beyond, egregious or aggressive. But if you are too conservative, you don't make any claims at all, right? Then you're not going to get sales. There is a certain level of like gray area that you just have to be in to sell supplements, at least starting out. Many supplement companies have their own kind of personal preference of how compliant they want to be. And then as they grow, as they get more successful, as they get more at risk, as the business is getting bigger and bigger, then they scale back and sort of be more and more compliant because now they have more risk versus when they just started. So it's always a personal choice of the supplement business owner, but it is a very gray scale. Now, of course, you don't want to make any kind of disease claims or anything. You don't want to say it cures X, I think, at any state. But there are supplement companies out there that do that. And those are kind of, I guess, the bad ones in the market.
Yeah, it's one of the questions I ask clients right away is, what is their compliance risk? We want to understand, or like a business risk tolerance, like where do they fall on that scale? And that helps us scale the right compliance level for them. Some clients are more risk averse than others. They're willing to kind of go into that gray zone more. Others aren't. So we definitely want to factor that in. And at the same time, as you mentioned, you don't want to sound bland. You want to differentiate yourself. And sometimes that means kind of getting towards that line a little bit close, inching to that line. And as you succeed, then yes, definitely back away. Our goal here is really to make it so that if you were to back off the claims, it's not going to be a huge pivot. It's not going to be a significant pivot where you abandon your customer or like you change your branding or you change your language or benefit altogether. It's a 180. It's more of a small shift where the consumers get it, or they already understand and trust you so much that they're okay with a meaningful shift.
That goes back to like you've already built up the customer base, right? Like that big company that's introducing a new and improved thing, they already have the distribution. So if you have the distribution, if you have the customer base already, backing off your claims, it's not going to affect the back end. It's not going to affect the subscription revenue, right? It's not going to affect the email revenue. It may affect the acquisition of the new customers, but you already have some traction. You already have the plane off the runway. It's already flying.
I know you have a wealth of knowledge. We're just scratching the surface. How do you help other brands? How can people get in touch with you? I know a lot of people would love to work with you. how can they do that?
Email me. It's just simply Bobby, Bobby, at Creative Thirst. You can go over to creativethirst.com, learn all about me, or you could listen to my podcast. It's pretty much everywhere except for YouTube, unfortunately. But iTunes, Spotify, all the mats. It's called Supplement Business Mastery. And how I work with people is basically three ways. I increase their sales, so conversion rate on the front end, increase the average order value so that they can afford to pay more for traffic, and then increase the lifetime value basically through email follow-up sequences. And over time, all those numbers kind of work together. And I work with people on a one-to-one kind of coaching model. So it's really tailored to them specifically, and it often kind of goes outside those three areas for whatever the business is doing. Like if they're doing launching a new product, or if they're having trouble with SEO, or they want kind of business advice for like how to think about their business, or really what business they're in, or even new products. So it often goes outside those three areas, but it's mainly those three areas of conversion, average order value, and lifetime value.
Very cool. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. I've been listening to many of your episodes. I've downloaded many and listened on the car rides and taking notes at the same time. It's crazy. I recommend anyone interested in this space, launching their brand, definitely check out the podcast at minimum. Check out the monthly offer that you have on the funnels. And they definitely want to work with you. I think you're a wealth of knowledge in this space that's ripe for this particular startup business. Thank you so much for being here today, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. It's been a pleasure.